You finally got that promotion you've been grinding for. Your salary jumped from $65,000 to $95,000. You're making more money than you ever thought possible. And yet, here you are, 6 months later, lying awake at 2 a.m., still stressed about money, still feeling like you're not getting ahead, still thinking, if I could just make a little bit more, then I'd be happy. What the hell happened? My name is Leo, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make 6 figures still feel broke. If you're someone who's been chasing that next raise, that next promotion, thinking it's finally going to solve all your money problems and make you happy, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because here's the thing, there's actual research that shows making more money stops making you happier after a certain point. And that point, it's lower than you think. Look, in 2010, a Princeton University study by Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, found something that broke a lot of people's brains. He discovered that emotional well-being rises with income, but only up to about $75,000 a year. After that, making more money has basically zero impact on your day-to-day happiness. Now, you might be thinking, Leo, that study's from 2010. That's like ancient history. Fair point. With inflation, that $75,000 is probably closer to $95,000 or $100,000 today. But here's what most people don't realize. The principle still holds. There's a threshold where more money stops making you happier, and most of you watching this are either at that threshold or you're about to hit it. And when you do, that's when things get really weird. Let me show you what I'm talking about with some real numbers. Let's say you're making $60,000 a year. After taxes, you're taking home roughly $45,000. That's about $3,750 a month. You've got rent or a mortgage, car payment, insurance, groceries, utilities, all the basics. You're probably living paycheck to paycheck, maybe putting away a little bit, but not much. Life feels tight. You're stressed. You think, man, if I could just make $80,000, everything would be better. So you grind, you work overtime, you switch jobs, you finally get to $80,000. After taxes, you're taking home about $58,000, or roughly $4,800 a month. That's an extra $1,050 a month. That should feel amazing, right? And for the first few months, it does. You feel like you're finally breathing. You can go out to dinner without checking your bank account. You can buy that thing you've been wanting. Life is good. But then something insidious happens. You start thinking, well, I can afford a nicer apartment now. So you move from that $1,200 place to a $1,600 place. That's $400 gone. I deserve a nicer car. I'm making good money now. So you trade in your paid-off Honda for a $450 car payment. I should probably update my wardrobe for work. Another $150 to $200. We can finally afford to eat out more. Add another $200. Suddenly, that extra $1,050 a month, it's gone. And you're back to feeling broke, except now you're making $80,000 and still stressed about money. This is the paradox, and it gets worse the more you make. Here's what's happening psychologically, and this is where it gets really interesting. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, or hedonic adaptation. Basically, humans are incredible at adapting to new circumstances, both good and bad. You get a raise, you feel amazing for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but then your brain recalibrates. That new income level becomes your new normal. The things that used to feel like luxuries, they're now necessities. The apartment that felt amazing 6 months ago, now you're looking at the scratches on the floor and thinking about upgrading. And here's the really messed up part. Loss aversion kicks in. Once you've adapted to that lifestyle, the thought of downgrading feels terrible, way worse than the upgrade felt good. Let me give you a real example. I know a guy, let's call him Mike. Mike was making $70,000 and felt pretty good. Got promoted to $120,000. Moved from a $1,400 apartment to a $2,400 apartment. Got a $650 car payment, started going to nicer restaurants, taking nicer vacations, buying nicer clothes. 2 years later, his company had layoffs. He had to take a job at $90,000. Still way more than his original $70,000, right? But Mike was miserable. Why? Because he couldn't maintain the $120,000 lifestyle on $90,000. He felt like he was failing, even though he was making more than he ever dreamed of when he started. That's the hedonic treadmill. You keep running faster, but you never get anywhere. Now here's where this gets even more complicated. It's not just about the money you make, it's about the money everyone around you makes. When you're making $60,000 and most of your friends are making similar amounts, you feel fine. You're all in the same boat. But when you get that raise to $95,000 and suddenly you're hanging out with people who make $150,000, $200,000, $500,000 or more, now you feel broke again, even though objectively you're doing great. There's research on this too. A study from the University of Warwick found that your happiness is less about your absolute income and more about your income relative to your peers. Making $80,000 when your friends make $60,000 feels amazing. Making $80,000 when your friends make $120,000 feels terrible. This is why lifestyle inflation is so dangerous. When you upgrade your lifestyle, you often upgrade your peer group too, and suddenly you're comparing yourself to people who make way more than you do. Look, I see this all the time in high cost of living cities. Someone moves to San Francisco or New York making $150,000 and thinks they're rich. Then they realize everyone around them is making $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 or more. And suddenly $150,000 feels like nothing. They're renting with roommates while others are buying houses. They're flying economy while others are in business class. The comparison trap is absolutely brutal, and it completely destroys the happiness that money is supposed to bring. So if more money doesn't make you happier after a certain point, what does? Here's what the research actually shows, and this is crucial. Money does make you happier when it solves actual problems. When you're making $35,000 and struggling to pay rent, an extra $20,000 is life-changing. That's real security. That's being able to afford healthcare, to fix your car when it breaks down, to not panic when an unexpected bill comes. But once you're past that threshold, once you have enough to cover your needs comfortably, what makes you happier isn't more money, it's time. Specifically, time with people you care about and time doing things you enjoy. A 2016 study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that people who prioritize time over money are significantly happier than people who prioritize money over time. It's autonomy, the ability to make choices about your life. This is why financial independence is so powerful, not because you have a lot of money, but because you have the freedom to say no to things you don't want to do. It's relationships. The Harvard study of adult development, which has been running for over 85 years, found that good relationships are the strongest predictor of happiness and longevity. Not money, not career success, relationships. It's experiences over things. Study after study shows that spending money on experiences, trips, concerts, time with friends, makes people happier than spending money on material goods. That new car gives you a happiness boost for a few weeks. That trip with your best friends, you'll remember it for years.
It's helping others. Research from Harvard Business School shows that spending money on other people makes you happier than spending it on yourself. None of these things require you to make $200,000 a year. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Leo, but I still want to make more money. Are you saying I shouldn't try to advance my career? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is this. If you're making enough to live comfortably, let's say $75,000 to $100,000, depending on where you live, and you're still chasing more money because you think it'll make you happy, you need to seriously examine why. Because here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. Most of us aren't chasing money. We're chasing status. We're chasing validation. We're chasing the feeling of being successful. And those are bottomless pits. There's always someone richer. There's always a nicer house, a nicer car, a nicer watch. If you tie your happiness to making more money, you will never, ever have enough. I know people making $300,000 who are stressed about money. I know people making $500,000 who feel broke. Why? because they're spending $320,000, $520,000. They've upgraded their lifestyle to match or exceed their income. This is the real paradox. The more you make, the more you can spend. And if you don't control your spending, more money just means more stress. So what do you actually do about this? First, you need to figure out your enough number. What's the income level where you can live comfortably, save for the future, and do the things that actually matter to you? For most people in average cost of living areas, that's somewhere between $75,000 and $125,000. In high cost areas, maybe it's $100,000 to $150,000. Calculate your actual needs: housing, food, transportation, insurance, healthcare, retirement savings, emergency fund contributions. Then add a buffer for the things that bring you joy: travel, hobbies, experiences with loved ones. That's your number. Not what your coworkers make, not what you think you should be making, what you actually need to live well. Second, when you get a raise, do not immediately inflate your lifestyle. I'm serious about this. Here's what you should do instead. Let's say you get a $10,000 raise. That's about $600 more per month after taxes. Take $300 of that and increase your retirement contributions or invest it. That's your future self thanking you. Take $200 and put it toward a specific goal. Maybe a house down payment, maybe a dream vacation, maybe paying off debt faster. Then, and only then, take that last $100 and upgrade your lifestyle a tiny bit. This way, you're capturing most of the benefit of your raise while still enjoying a small upgrade. Third, and this is huge, stop comparing yourself to others. I know that's easier said than done, but seriously, unfollow people on social media who make you feel inadequate. Stop looking at what your neighbors drive or where your coworkers vacation. Focus on your goals, your values, your version of a good life. Because here's what most people don't realize. The guy driving the $80,000 BMW might be drowning in debt. The couple posting from their luxury vacation might have put it all on credit cards. You have no idea what someone's actual financial situation is, and comparing yourself to their highlight reel is insane. Fourth, actively invest in the things that actually make you happy. If spending time with your family is important, structure your life around that, even if it means making less money or turning down a promotion that would require you to work 70 hours a week. If travel is what lights you up, build a budget around taking meaningful trips instead of buying stuff you don't need. Money is a tool. It should be used to create the life you want, not to impress people you don't even like. Look, I know this video might be frustrating to hear, especially if you're currently grinding to make more money, but I'd rather you hear this now than figure it out 10 years from now when you're making $150,000 and still feeling broke and unhappy. The hard truth is this: if you're not happy making $75,000, you probably won't be happy making $175,000, because the problem isn't the money, it's how you think about money. And I get it, I really do. We're constantly bombarded with messages that we need more stuff, bigger houses, nicer cars, more expensive everything. The entire economy is built on keeping you perpetually dissatisfied with what you have. But you have to break out of that cycle. You have to define success for yourself, not let society define it for you. Because here's the beautiful thing. Once you do that, once you figure out your enough number and start living below your means, money stops being stressful. It becomes boring. And boring money is the best kind of money. When you're not worried about money all the time, when you're not comparing yourself to others, when you're saving and investing consistently, you get to focus on what actually matters: your relationships, your health, your passions, the experiences that make life worth living. That's the real wealth. So here's what I want you to do. Sit down this week and honestly calculate what you need to live well. Not what you want to impress others, not what you think you should be making, what you actually need to be comfortable and happy. Then, if you're already at or above that number, stop chasing more money for money's sake. Instead, focus on optimizing your life for happiness, more time, better relationships, meaningful experiences.
And if you're below that number, by all means, work toward getting there, but have a plan when you arrive, because if you don't, you'll just keep moving the goalposts and you'll never be satisfied. The $75,000 paradox isn't really about $75,000. It's about understanding that money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. Use it wisely, use it intentionally, and use it to build a life that actually makes you happy. If this video helped shift your perspective on money and happiness, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you want more content on personal finance and building real wealth, not just the appearance of wealth. And drop a comment below. What's your enough number? What would make you feel financially secure? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.